What's up guys, Brian here in the Gecko Lab, bringing you another weekly hatchling report. I got a few things to go over today. Now this is going to be a Growout edition of the weekly hatchling report. It's been a little slow with hatchlings. We've had a couple pop out here and there, but nothing real noteworthy, so I wanted to take this time to give you a good look at some of my up and coming Growouts that I'd like to show off. And also, I got a story for you about a recent trip I went on. So before we get into looking at today's geckos, I gotta tell you guys about my recent travels. So those of you that follow my channel know a couple weeks, about a month ago or so, I posted that I was going to the Amazon. I had this big trip to Peru, like legit deep into the Amazon, whole tour planned, and it got canceled. It was devastating. I was set to leave on a Monday morning to arrive in Peru on Tuesday morning. And Saturday night, right before I left, Peru changed their guidelines for travel. They implemented a 14-day mandatory quarantine for all incoming passengers. I was only going to be in the country for 12 days, so obviously that wasn't going to work for me. The whole thing ended up falling apart. Obviously, my continued complaints about my first world problems. I had all this time off work, however, so I did end up booking a last-minute trip to Belize. I've been to Belize several times. The rainforests there are great, and I figured, well, you know, I've got flight credit now. I've got time off work. I already know my way around Belize. It's easy to do on short notice. I might as well just go there. So I did. I went and kicked around Belize for a few days. I had a few things to take care of down there. More on that coming very soon. Keep your eyes peeled. But I went down there and I spent a few days hiking around the rainforest, hanging out on the beach, mostly up in the rainforest, hiking different waterfalls, taking some pictures. It's just so beautiful there. I absolutely love it. I had a great time. It was fantastic. I was just there by myself, relaxing, hiking through the jungle, seeing all the animals. I had a blast. But there is one particular thing I have to tell you about. I brought my camping gear with me. And there was one night I was camping in the Coxcomb Basin Wildlife Preserve. Now, for those of you that don't know, the Coxcomb Basin Wildlife Preserve is the world's only jaguar sanctuary. It is a wildlife preserve designated just to protecting Belize's jaguar populations. And they actually have the densest jaguar population on the planet. It's ridiculous how much predatory life this forest can sustain and the number of big cats that live in this forest. One day while I was hiking through there with a guy that I had met while I was in Belize, we actually ran across a big peccary herd. Peccary are wild boars, like native South American wild boars that live all the way up into Belize and Mexico. We ran into a huge herd of like 50 of these guys, and it was raining when we found them, so they couldn't smell us and they couldn't see us. I got lucky enough to get super close to them, which was a bit foolish because they can be very aggressive if threatened. And they eventually figured out we were there, and I thought we still had about 20 or 30 yards between them and us, but we didn't realize that the peccary we saw down on the path was actually a small part of the herd, and we had inadvertently surrounded ourselves by all these peccary. They saw us and started freaking out and running away. Luckily, none of them charged us. We got away with one there, but that was certainly a heck of an experience. But a couple nights before that, in the Coxcomb Basin, I was camping. Now, the Forest Service down there has like a big clearing area in the forest that they call the campground. It's not like a campground as most of you probably know it. It's literally just a spot where the trees are cleared away so you can pitch a tent, and they've got some posts for people to hang hammocks and whatnot. I was there pretty much the only guy in the entire national forest. So I pitched my tent, and to paint you a word picture, right? I put my tent here, and then there's just a wall of trees about probably 20 yards behind my tent where the forest just starts. And on the other side of the clearing, there was a picnic table. So I was hanging out there and the sun started to go down. I sat on the picnic table with my headlamp and I was just reading a book by headlamp at night. I sat there for about an hour, hour and a half after dark reading my book, just relaxing, listening to the jungle. It was great. I finally got up and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and lay down in my tent. And I started walking across this long clearing, and as I got about halfway across, you guys know how when you shine a flashlight on animals at night, you can see their eye shine? Well, I could see eye shine over behind where my tent was, and I'm thinking, cool, there's an animal. I'm going to, you know, get to see something. I'm thinking it's a peccary or a deer, or they've got all kinds of 2 different species of deer and all kinds of stuff in the forest down there. I'm thinking maybe it's a tapir. That would be really cool. And I had 2 lights with me. I had my headlamp and I had a flashlight that I've nicknamed Holy Thunder Force because it literally lights up the entire forest. It's so freaking bright. It's actually got a warning label on it saying you have to disable it before you put it in your luggage because it gets so hot it will light your clothes on fire. It's that bright. I had that guy with me and I can see the eye shine. I get over to where my tent is and I can now see that the eye shine is about 30 feet, I would say, back into the trees behind that wall of foliage where the forest starts. So me thinking, cool, I'm going to be able to see something, I am kind of trying to get in a position. I walk right up to the edge of the trees and I'm trying to get myself in a position where I can see what the animal is, but with my headlamp, all I can see are its eyes. I can't make out even a shape, nothing, just its eyes. And I knew I had my super, super bright light, but I'm like, all right, well, as soon as I turn this on, whatever it is, it's going to scatter. It's going to get freaked out. So I better get myself in a spot where I'll be able to see it and then turn the light on. So I'm like crouched down, and right before I turned my light on, I had 2 thoughts. One of which I noticed the eye shine was green, and different animals have different color eye shine. Crocodiles and alligators, caimans, that kind of stuff, they have red eye shine. I happen to know that big cats have green eye shine. So literally in the 1 second before I hit my light, I noticed, for one, these are green eyes, and for 2, I could see it. It was watching me this whole time, and I could see the way it was moving. It was kind of doing this, you know, like if you've ever seen a cat that's stalking when you're playing with a cat or something, and it's stalking the toy you're pulling, and the way they kind of watch and bob their head real slow and move around. It was moving like that. And so right before I hit the light, I could just tell in my head, it clicked, and I went, this is a cat. And then I hit my light, lit it up, and it was a jaguar right there in front of me, not 30 feet away, sitting in the forest. And it was, I wasn't scared because I know that jaguars aren't dangerous to humans. They don't hunt humans. They don't hurt humans. I know that. But that being said, I'm 30 feet away from a 200-pound predatory feline who is staring, just bored right into my eyes. And it was very, very apparent this cat had 0 Fs to give. It did not care about me. It was not scared of me. Nothing. And it just looked at me, and then it turned sideways and walked away. And it's like super dense rainforest. It didn't make a single sound, didn't step on a leaf, didn't break a twig, like completely silent, walked off. That was the creepiest part to me, because you would never hear this thing coming. It didn't make a single sound. So that was super, super intense. And then of course I turn around and my tent is 20 yards behind me, 30 yards behind me, whatever it was. And you know, I now have to go wrap myself up like a burrito and lay in the tent all night when I know this jaguar is right there. Again, I wasn't really scared because I know they're not dangerous to humans, but it's still scary. But it was an experience I wouldn't trade for anything. It was absolutely incredible. It's just something that I've always hoped I would get to experience, to see a wild jaguar. I didn't know I would get that up close with one, but it was definitely a bucket list. It was something I will never forget. It was fantastic. I loved it. I had a great time in Belize overall. It's just one of the most beautiful places, one of my favorite places to go. It is absolutely my peaceful, safe place. I love it there. And that is my travel story. I didn't get to go to Peru, but I still had a pretty good time on the shorter trip that I did get to take, and I've got no complaints whatsoever. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that story. I definitely enjoyed the experience, but let's get into the geckos now. I've got 5 super nice holdbacks that I have photographed to show off to you guys. Some absolute killers. I love these geckos, and I want to show them to you. So first up, check out this orange quad stripe. This gecko is immaculate. Just look at the crest along its head, that perfect pinning going all the way down the back, that thick, bright white lateral stripe. This gecko has it all. Color, structure, just absolutely incredible. One of the better orange quad stripes. This isn't a project that I focus too heavily on. I have a couple breeding groups that produce these guys, but when I get one like this, it really makes me think, man, I should start holding some of these back and progressing this project, because this gecko is so good looking. I might need to hang on to a few more of these. Next up, I've got an empty back line offspring. This is a super stripe. This is kind of my super stripe project, the empty back, where I go for the widest, most empty dorsal I can. As you can see, this one is an excellent example. Again, nice structure, big long crest, that super empty dorsal going right down the back, and of course that killer lateral line. Next up, look at this thing, a super dark axanthic. I love this one. I love all the axanthics, obviously, but man, it's hard to argue with a super pitch black dark one. These guys even put my best charcoals to shame. Just so dark. These remind me a lot of the really dark leopard geckos that you see. Their color is just so perfect, and those white dashing pins going down the back are just pure liquid paper white. Absolutely incredible. These guys always look so grumpy. They just look angry because they're so dark. I love it. These are some of my favorite axanthics. Absolutely beautiful. Next up, this one, I just love the crazy pattern on this guy. Tons of pattern. This is like a tricolor pinstripe. So it's got that extreme harlequin pattern. Now there's a misconception with extreme harlequins. Some people say the pattern has to go all the way up and touch the dorsal to be considered an extreme harlequin. And that's not true, because when you mix an extreme harlequin with a pinstripe, the lateral striping prevents the pattern from reaching and actually touching with the dorsal line where the pinstripes are a lot of the times. That doesn't mean it's not an extreme harlequin. Obviously this is an extreme harlequin. It's got the white overlay on the yellow orangish pattern, that dark base color, nice pinning, just a nice gecko. Not the nicest of the nice, but I just love this look. I thought I'd throw that one in there to show off today. Plus that tongue lick just looks so cool. And then lastly, just check this one out. A super high-end confetti super Dalmatian. Look at all those red spots. This is one of my latest, God, this is, I think, a 9th generation confetti line. So the confetti line all started with one male named Confetti that I got a long time ago, and I've just bred and refined this project over more than a decade now, and I believe this one is a 9th generation offspring. Just wow, look at those red spots. You don't get much better than this. And this guy's pretty small still, I think around the 12 gram mark. A lot of growing to do. A lot more spots are going to come in as he grows. This is just like the highest of the highs for me. I absolutely love these red spots. They pop so nicely. Beautiful color. Definitely one of the projects I'm most proud of. This is the project I've enhanced the most just through my own breeding, not through buying other lines or anything, just purely all done in-house. This is what I'm the most proud of. I love the confetti super Dalmatians, and this guy is one of my best examples. So that is it today. Those are my 5 grow outs I wanted to show you guys. Some of these might be for sale at some point, probably 8 or 9 months from now when they reach adult size, maybe for Black Friday this year. Some of these might be in the mix there, so keep an eye out. I'm always growing more up. I've always got more geckos to show off. Do not forget to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at AE Geckos. I'm always posting pictures. You guys will see these pictures up there at some point. I've got a huge folder on my phone full of pictures. I post them all day long. I love it. Thank you guys for watching. As always, I am Brian, Altitude Exotics, altitudeexotics.com. New geckos coming for sale soon, so please stay posted for all the details on that. I will see you guys soon. Thank you.